I'm always fascinated by car culture and how the car is perceived in different areas of the world. Take China for instance. Now in China the sports car doesn't sell particularly well because in China you're seen as a success if you're driven rather than you drive. And even humdrum cars that we see every day, such as the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4 and the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, those manufacturers build them in long wheelbase form purely for the Chinese market. Think of Japan, and I always think of like the little K cars, you know, the KEI, the little K cars, the 660cc turbo rockets that used to fly around the streets of Tokyo. And I mean, they were all the rage out there because of taxation classes, but they've gained a real cult following even in other markets of the world because they were never sold around there. And of course, when it comes to things like drifting, well, that originated in this, like the hills above Tokyo, you know, away from the street racing that used to take part there. And when it comes to the good old US of A, well, it has to be said, they do love a pickup. But that's now starting to filter across to the UK. Now, when I was growing up in rural Scotland, the only people that drove around in pickups were farmers or builders because they were quite utilitarian. But times have changed, and people these days are now seeing them as viable alternatives to the everyday family car. But are they a viable alternative to the everyday family car? Let's take a closer look and find out, shall we? As I say, welcome to this week's new, well, pickup review. Welcome to the Isuzu D Max V-Cross. Please sit yourself down, make yourself comfortable in the house of cars. Now, before I get cracked on with this week's review of the Isuzu D Max V-Cross, I need to ask you a wee favour. Would you mind ever so much making sure you're subscribed to the House of Cars channel? I've got a few subscribers and a few of you have subscribed and I'm very grateful for that. But I can be quite greedy and I'd like a little bit more. So if you're not a subscriber, please think about becoming one. And once you've done that, press the bell button down below because that's the way you get notified when the next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you watch it and you enjoy it, which I really hope you do, give it a wee thumbs up, And don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the vehicles that we review on House of Cars and of course on the channel as a whole. So pickups. Now, as I'm mentioning America but it's not just America that's obviously got a love affair with the pickup, because Australia is another market where they've done very, very well. The Ute, as it's known out there. And of course, there was that fact that was sort of like rolled out a few years back. You know, the best-selling vehicle in the world is the Ford F-150, not a Toyota Corolla or a Volkswagen Golf. It's the Ford F-150 pickup, and they were selling a new F-150 in the US every 30 seconds. So there's obviously a market there for them. Now, Isuzu, they've been in the UK since 1987. They brought the Trooper out then, which was an SUV, oddly enough, but well before we cottoned on to sort of like this love affair that we've now got with SUVs. And obviously it was competing with things such as the Toyota Land Cruiser, Mitsubishi Shogun. Goodness me, Land Rover didn't even have a Discovery out when Isuzu brought the Trooper in. But then 2 years after that, they came on the scene with a pickup. And they've given us other cars since then. They've given us even sports cars with the Piazza Turbo. But nowadays, Isuzu is purely a pickup brand in the UK. That's all they sell here in the UK, are these pickups. And they are quite popular. But as I say, how good are they at being an everyday family car? Time to find out. However, before we start, let's take a little snapshot about what the Isuzu D Max V-Cross is all about. Well, as I said, Isuzu here in the UK is a pickup-only brand. There are three variants of the D Max, either the business, the all-purpose or adventure that we have here. They can be had as either two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, single, extended or double cabs. They're powered by a 1.9 litre diesel engine with either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic transmission. And the adventure range starts at just around £43,000 but climbs to over £50,000 depending on final specification and options chosen. Now, £50,000 buys you an awful lot of good family cars these days. So what does this offer? over and above them to make you think, well, this is something we should look at, rather than something like a Skoda Kodiaq or a Hyundai Santa Fe, or of course a Kia Sorento. Well, let's take a closer look at it with a House of Cars review and find out. Now, as always, we're going to kick off with the design, but before I do, I just want to give you a brief explanation of the pickup range that Isuzu offer, because look, my videos are long enough as it is, but if I was here all day going through every scenario, it'd be an even longer video. So briefly, it's this: they're split into 3 different categories. You have either the business, the all-purpose, or the adventure range. This is part of the adventure range, the D Max V-Cross, okay? And that's the pickup we're going to be looking at in this review, okay? But the business ones are obviously things like, you know, they've got steel wheels, they don't have leather in them, they don't have, you know, they've got more kind of utilitarian fittings inside out, because they're for people that want, I don't know, throw it around the farmyard or chuck bricks in the back of it or whatever, you know, and you can have that as 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, single, extended or double cab. Then there's the all-purpose range, which sits in the middle, which again is a sort of cross between the two. Quite utilitarian, but with a few added extras and luxuries. And that comes as either, I think it's a 4-wheel drive only, and you can have that with the extended cab or the double cab. And then there's this, the adventure range, which is quite simple. It's one, you get double cab only, and you can add on things to it, such like, and it's got lots of nice bits and pieces on it. Okay, there's a further option of Arctic trucks, which look incredible. You know, the big things with the flared wheel arches, the big balloon tyres and such like, which I think look amazing, I really do. But that's for another review perhaps, okay? Right, let's talk about the design of the truck. So there's a few things which obviously they've had to put onto this particular one to make it more suitable, dare I suggest, if you were looking at it as an alternative to an SUV. So you get things like, you know, sort of like the LED headlamps and the nice little daytime run lights. It's not what you'd call a pretty looking thing, is it? You know, it's quite substantial at the front. You get this big black sort of like grille area here, and they've got little bits of carbon fibre trim just tucked inside the big bold Isuzu badge across the front of it as well. The double stacked you know, running sort of like lights down here with indicators and fog lamps down there, you know, sort of like a set number plate. As I say, there's lots of accessories that you can buy for the car, which we can talk about, you know, when we get to the pricing section. But, you know, you can have things like underbody skid plates. Gone are the days where you can slap bull bars on them, although unfortunately they used to be very, very popular, but for obvious reasons they don't do them anymore. But yeah, I mean, pickups are never going to be stylistically good looking things, you know, if we were to think about how cars are designed. But in fairness, in terms of stature, in terms of the way the car looks, they've gone for this big, bold, aggressive look at the front, and I think they've achieved that. Now, as you move around the side of the truck, again, you can tell it's part of the adventure range because you get the big 18-inch blacked out alloy wheels here with the big Dunlop Grand Trek tires on them, which are good on the road, in fairness. I do, you know, they're not noisy. There's not a lot of road noise coming through the car. There's other noises coming through the truck, but its tire noise isn't one of them. Now, big expansive metal work here at the flank. There's not a lot of sort of like scoops and sort of like swage lines and things on it, which is a good thing in a pickup, because if you're buying this not just as a family, but you're also buying it because maybe you're a sole trader, you've got a business, why do you want sort of like not a lot of sort of like scoops and things and slashes in it? Because it makes it easier to sign write, I think. You know, you can put your business sign writing down the side of the car and it's going to just be, well, it's going to be easy to read, easy to see. And it's not going to be difficult, you know, with a big design line running through there. That's not going to be any good for you. Now, this is a double cab, as I say, because obviously it's the part of the adventure range which comes as a double cab, but it has the option of the truckman top canopy at the back here. And then there's various different ones of these that you can get, depending obviously on what your needs are. But again, quite nice, it's got this big expansive glass. So again, if you're having a sign writing up here for your business, it's a nice flat surface on this particular canopy that makes it easy for that. Obviously, things such as the running boards, because that's handy, because see, it's quite a tall truck. You know, I'm 5'8", hardly the tallest man in the world, but even so, getting in and out of it, you do need that side step to help you, especially if you're a wee shorty like me. Fuel cap obviously on this side, and then it all comes into this long load bed at the back. It's nicely proportioned, you know, it's not too long at the back. But again, you know, we're not talking about design classic here, but it's purposeful. As I say, there's a lot of practicality with it in terms of this flat metal work along the side of it. But yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Now, round the back, there's a couple of nice things around here. You get big Again, depending obviously on what top you do got, and you don't have to have one of these truckman tops, but it does add to the practicality of it. You can have it just as a standard, well, it comes as a standard pickup. You can put things maybe just say as a roller blind across the back, or roll bars or light bars and stuff like that on it. This one I quite like with the truckman top. You've got the integrated spoiler up here, the high level rear brake light mounted here. Obviously there's no rear wiper on it. This section of the glass obviously lifts up. It's locked at the moment. Let me just unlock it, he says, with the key. I'll show you. So you can lift that up there, and then obviously that one, the tailgate then drops down. But what is quite nice in terms of the tech that's on these D Max V-Crosses, the reversing camera, and it's just nicely integrated into the handle here, and especially if you've got the tow bar. So if you're towing, say, I don't know, a caravan, a horse box, a jet ski, a boat or something like that, that camera gives a really good view where the tow bar is if you've got a tow bar like this one fitted, so it's nice and easy to back up to whatever it is you're about to tow on it. So that is a good bit of safety kit on it. I do like that, and it's really handy to use. Again, nice the fact you've got this sort of plastic step, you know, if you need to get up into there. Obviously you can't use it if that's down, obviously. Big number plate in there, say tow bars there, but you do also get reversing sensors around it as well. Again, like the front, you kind of double stack tail lights here with the LED tail lights on it. Look, as I say, there's no point talking about design too much about it because it's a pickup truck, isn't it? You know, it's not a bad looking one. I think the Ford Ranger, personally, I think is a better looking truck. I don't mind the Hilux from Toyota even as much as that is better than this, but it's certainly a nicer looking than, say, the new Maxus, the TE90 from Maxus. That's a better looking that. And of course there's also from Ineos, the Grenadier Quartermaster. We'll talk about rivals a bit later on, but it sits somewhere in the middle of all that lot, I think. But as I say, I do think the Ford and the Toyota are slightly better looking ones, as is the Volkswagen Amarok as well. But as I say, it's not really about the design of it, is it? It's about the practicality of it, which is what we're going to talk about now. But before we do move on, let me know if you've got one of these and you bought it because you like the way it looked. Or maybe it's one of those Arctic trucks you've bought and you really like the look of them. Why did you buy it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, this is the bit that's important to you, probably because if you're looking at buying a pickup truck, you need it for a particular reason. And it might be something that's more leisure based, such as putting bikes in the back or, you know, putting camping equipment in the back of it and things like that. So maybe the overall volume, there's no point in me bringing my 4 suitcases and saying, oh look, 4 suitcases fit. Of course they will, it's a pickup truck. You want to know more about dimensions, so I'm going to give you those to you now, so excuse the book because I need to write things down because I'm old and I forget numbers. The load bay length is 1,495 millimeters long, you know, from tailgate to bulkhead. It will be longer if it's a single cab, but bear in mind we're only talking about the Adventure series here, so they don't do the Adventure series in a single cab, okay? So that's your load bay length, 1,495 millimeters. Your width is 1,530 millimeters. That's the width that you get, and the depth. But that is from the top of the side to the bottom of the load deck, so it doesn't include the actual sort of like height of the truck top. The depth of it is 490 millimeters. Now obviously that extends quite a bit if you put one of these truckman tops on them, and there are various different sort of like, as I say, truckman tops you can put on it. You can put one that's maybe got slightly higher on it, it's maybe slightly flatter at the back. So as I say, we could be here all day talking about dimensions as such, but what I do like about the load bay is it is a good square old space. Now as I say, there's no point showing you it with suitcases in, and I didn't really think about what else to bring. But the other day, my daughter and I decided that we were going to go out for a bike ride, and I was able to put her mountain bike in it and my old ratty mountain bike in it, lying flat in the bay with the tailgate shut and, you know, the rear hatch closed. So it's a good usable sort of like space, if you like. And as I say, if you're looking at maybe for camping, or, you know, as I say, you've got I don't know, jet skis and or you're sailing and you've got a load of sailing equipment with you, that's plenty big enough. And as I say, you don't have to have the truckman top in terms of security, because as I say, remember, you can have a roller blind as well, which will keep it all nice and secure as well. So that is a fairly decent load bay size, I would say. Now this particular one's been fitted with a bed rug, so as you see, it's all carpeted in the back here, which is quite nice. And again, if you're using it more from a personal point of view rather than a business point of view, that's probably something you can do. But again, if you were maybe more a business user, a joiner or a builder or things, then obviously what you can do is you can line it out with rubber load liners and such like as well. But as I say, we'd be here all day talking about the accessories that you can buy for this truck. But in terms of space, I think that's fairly decent. Now, in terms of its actual payload, the weight that it can take, just over a ton in the back here. So that's excellent as well. So it is over a ton, just 1,050 kilograms is the payload that you can get in the back of this. The other thing that, as I say, that you may use it for, as I say, is towing. Horse boxes, boats, trailers, whatever it is that you're into. Race car trailers, you're going to want to know if you run a race car, could you maybe tow it, use this as a race shuttle on the back of it. Absolutely no problem at all. It will tow a brake trailer up to 3.5 tons. So a very, very practical truck. Okay, so it's practical enough in the load bed. What do we think about in terms of rear capacity? Because again, you might be doubling up as your family car, as I say, so you've got work Monday to Friday, weekends, you're taking your family out in it. Or you've got colleagues to take out in it, you've got people that work, builders to take with you or whatever. Or do they fit in the back of it? Well, yeah, they do. Well, certainly if they're my height, there's no problem at all. I'm 5'8", that's my driving position. And actually, this is quite a nice place to be. Now, my daughter was in the back of it the other day. She insisted on going in the back in it. She absolutely loved this big truck, sort of like being on the driveway the other day. And when we went out on the bikes, she said, right, I'm going to sit in the back. I want to see what it's like. And she loved it. And right enough, it's absolutely fine back here. You've got 2 ISOFIX points as well. So there's one on either side, obviously, if you've got child seats that you need to take. And there's space enough, I would say, for a third person. There's certainly a belt for them. So if you've got 3 kids, there's no problem at all. It's a relatively flat floor as well. Yes, there's a bit of a transmission tunnel, of course there is. But it's not too bad, so someone can actually sit in the middle, with either their feet up there or just either side of it. It's not too much of a hassle. There's certainly plenty headroom. The seat backs are obviously a little bit more upright, than they would be, say, in an SUV, because obviously you've got the bulkhead behind you, but you do have, the glass panel there as well, which is heated as well. So if you're not using, as you don't have that truckman top on the back, and it's an open bay, then obviously what you've got is a fixed glass rear screen with heating element in it. Any niceties back here? Well, it's okay. Storage is good. You've got obviously your mat pockets on the backs of the front seats. The door bins, they're okay. They're certainly deep enough for a water bottle, I would suggest. There's one USB port, USB-A port in the back there. That little tray is not even worth discussing from that point of view. But there's a centre armrest as well. So that folds down. You get 2 cup holders here. And as I say, it's quite comfortable. The bench itself is quite decent in length. So it's a relatively comfortable seat to sit in. As I say, I would sit behind myself quite amply and do a relatively long journey in the truck, no problem. Grab handles up here, look, coat hooks there. There is another coat hook here that takes a maximum of 4 kilos weight on that as well. So you can hang bags off the back there or whatever. But yeah, this is practical for a family. So, practical in the bed, practical in the back. What about up front? Could you use this? Could you live with this rather than a normal SUV? Well, again, because it's this adventure series, this V-Cross adventure, it is designed maybe more to emulate, an SUV than, as I say, the utilitarian pickups that I've been used to in the past. That being said, obviously, it's not as nice in here as you would get maybe, say, I don't know, on a Volvo, SUV or a Peugeot or whatever, at this similar price. But there's a lot to like as well. In terms of the quality, let's discuss that first. So you've got some relatively soft touch materials, so like up on the dashboard, across the face here, a little bit of the doors, padded armrests here, padded armrests here. The leather seats on this one, I have to say again, they're quite nice. I mean, they're wiped clean obviously, but they've got a soft touch to them, which is quite nice, that I do like. That being said, there's a lot of creakiness in here, there's a lot that just feels like it's a bit creaky and a little bit plasticky as well. Now, obviously, as I say, it is utilitarian. We have to remember we are reviewing a pickup truck here. But that being said, if they are marketing this more towards the SUV driver, maybe as I say, a sole trader who needs to double it up as a family car, then you do have to think about things like this. and other manufacturers certainly have. Isuzu maybe need to just, just up the game a little bit when it comes to that. But anyway, everything's here, and it's actually quite a well-equipped car. You get the 9-inch touchscreen here, which has wireless Apple CarPlay. Obviously Android Auto as well, and as I say, it's touchscreen as well, so you can just go into here to want your music on. You go radio, Bluetooth audio, DAB or Apple CarPlay. There's phone casting, mirror casting is the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and then all your settings are in here as well. So down here, it's not too much at all. You don't have to go in here for too much at all. So things like, such as switching your camera on and off. There's Wi-Fi, believe it or not. Obviously, here's your Bluetooth thing, your display to show you what you want. Set your audio system or the system itself, and that's it. So again, it does what it needs to. It does what it says on the tin. You don't need to go into to change any sort of particular settings on the car, or your ventilation system's done on physical buttons and things. So that is it. That's what it does. So there is something to be commended in that. That being said, it does feel a bit of a more aftermarket type of screen that they've used, type of technology they've used than some of the other manufacturers that are out there. But as I say, it does the job. There's physical buttons below it for adjusting the volume, for adjusting your audio, your track search, and your Bluetooth telephone as well. So you do have that. Now again, please bear in mind, we're talking about this one particular vehicle here. So the Adventure Series, the D Cross V Max, this car, that's what I'm talking about. So don't expect this if you're looking at the two-wheel drive, single cab utilitarian D Max pickup. That's not what you're going to get. Okay, it's going to look different to that. In front of you as a driver, you get two analog dials, which are nice to see. So you've got your rev counter on the left, speed on the right, and they're nice white on black dials, so very, very easy to read. And then in the centre of those, there's a little display as well, which again starts to show you the things that you need to see. So such things such as, obviously your fuel gauge, temperature gauge, a digital speed readout, your miles to go, and you can change it to show you things such as trip meter, fuel economy meter, that type of thing. There's also one there again for the lane keep assist, or the radar guided cruise control distance, which is good to see. Then there's also one that will display the 4-wheel drive system. So the car has a shift on the fly 4-wheel drive system, so it's in 2-wheel drive as normal. You turn this lever around to 4-wheel drive high, and then there's also there's a low range box as well, so you've got to push it in and turn it to 4 low. There's also a locking rear differential as well, so it's a proper mud plugger, and that's done off a button there. But again, your 4-wheel drive system, you can show it up on there as well. And then there's a settings menu in there again, so if we're going into things such as your maintenance, changing it to kilometers or whatever, driving support settings as well. Where it'll bring up such things such as automatic high beam, traffic sign recognition, speed limiter, automatic emergency braking, rear cross traffic alert, parking. So there is a lot of safety stuff. That's what I was saying earlier. There's a lot that you get on it that you might not have thought you would get on a pickup, but you do, and it's in there. It's not in there, it's up in here. You've got to use it. So yes, it's all very good from that point of view, but what I like about it is it's just nice and easy to read. It's relatively nice and easy to use. The steering wheel, simple 3-spoke design, again, bit kind of shiny plastic on it, but it does the job. Nice size in terms of the actual size of it, and just the right amount of buttons you expect. So you've got things such as your volume and track search on the left, speed control for cruise, and distance on the right hand side there. The buttons for moving across your menu system there, and your Bluetooth on that side. Simple, you know what it does, you don't need to worry too much about it. Nice sensible column stocks either side of the back there, so you've got automatic headlights if you want, and your fog lights on that side with your indicators, and then obviously you've got automatic wipers and adjustment there. Door panel control, 4 electric windows, electric door mirrors, folding door mirrors as well, that's all located there. Electric driver's seat, manual on the passenger side, but both seats are heated, so there you go. Choice of 2 transmissions, either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed auto. This is obviously an auto. So it's not a button or anything, it's a standard transmission lever which you draw back, and then you can then move to the side if you want to manually engage gears. Probably not more people will do that. Look at this, manual handbrake. When was the last time you saw a manual handbrake on something? that's one there. There's no wireless charging pad. You've got to use a cable if you want to charge your phone. That's maybe the only bit of equipment that's maybe lacking. So that can be a bit of a faff to plug your phone in every time you get in, but there is a tray for it down there and it does fit there. Storage is okay. You get a little box up the top there which will keep sunglasses in, or for smaller notepads or pens and such like. There is a secondary glove box, an upper glove box in here. It does contain the DVD drive for the sat nav, which is in there, so that does eat into it a little bit. But there's one below that, which on this car is taken up by one of the biggest sets of handbrakes I've ever seen in a car. Look at that. Look at the size of that. That's proper Isuzu. Owner and driver's manual. God, that'd keep you up at night, wouldn't it? Reading all of that. My dad, my old dad, when he was alive, he used to love reading driver's manuals in a new car. That'd keep him going for weeks, that would. There we go. So that's in there. But it's a decent sized glove box if it's not in there. You know, there's enough for gloves, I suppose, and little tools and such like if you carry them around in your car or you pick up. So that's down in there. And door bins down the side again. I'll take a water bottle, obviously not lined. You've got a cup holder in the centre there for that, and then there's a storage bin behind and a storage bin in there for your polo mitts and such like. Up ahead of you, you've got a bin for your sunglasses there and there. And as I say, there's physical controls for the heating and ventilation, so you don't have to go into the screen, which is quite nice. So you've obviously got temperature either side, aircon, fan speed in the middle, and then full defrost for the front screen, heated rear screen there, and so forth. Just around here, there's a hill descent control, the locking, the button for the locking rear diff, heated seats, and turning your parking sensors off. The seats, I have to say, the seats I think are actually quite comfortable. You know, I could do a reasonable journey in these seats. They're actually quite nice. They've got good shoulder support. This bit, the extended wing at the shoulder here is quite nice. The squab probably could do with being a touch longer for me, or certainly maybe having an adjustment. I just feel that my legs, do you feel they're dangling off the end of it a little bit. But as I say, the material is quite soft to sit in. There's enough lateral support down the side here, but although they are lacking, I'd say, on the support along the sides of the legs. That's the only bit. But then the upshot of that is it makes it easier to get in and out of, especially when you've got such a high vehicle. And obviously you get things such as the grab handles on the A-pillars there, as well as the grab handles at the top there. An auto-dimming rear view mirror. You do obviously have a steering wheel which will adjust for reach and for rake as well, which is excellent. And that's really it. What I would say is this: it's perfunctory in a good way. It's not trying to emulate you know, a luxurious SUV inside, but it's giving you the bits and pieces that you think you're going to, or you would expect at this, especially at this price point. Maybe if you were moving across from one of those, and I say if you were a sole trader, where you're not having to think about, I've got to buy a van or a pickup for work, and I've got to buy a van or a car or an SUV or an estate car for family life. They're trying to blend it all into one, and so therefore what they've done is they've tried to do that with this. You've got the Practicality way at the back, but then you've got some creature comforts up here, which is enough. It's probably what you would expect. So things such as climate control, heated seats, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, adjustable driving configuration here, cruise control, Bluetooth, that type of thing. You've just come to expect on everyday cars now. All of that's present. My only downside is, as I say, I think in terms of the screen's okay, it does what you need it to do, but it does feel a little bit low quality in terms of what else you can get out there. And whilst, as I say, the materials, you know, as I say, there's a soft touch to some of them, they just don't feel, there's a little bit of a kind of, you know, creaky plastic and bits and pieces like that, which is okay if you're just chucking, you know, sort of like tape measures in and screwdrivers and hammers and all the rest of it. But if you're going to be using it as an alternative to a family car, other people do it better than Isuzu. Now in terms of engines, it's the one, that's all that's available, a 1.9 litre diesel 4-cylinder unit that puts out 163 PS. So not the most powerful unit that you can get in a pickup truck these days, in fairness. Torque is a little bit better at 360 Newton meters, and that's available from 2000 RPM. And as I say, in terms of towing capability, the truck is relatively good, being able to tow up to 3.5 tons. The other thing with this pickup is it's no speed restriction on it as well. So being a double cab pickup, there's no speed restriction on it that you do get with some commercial vehicles. As I say, you get a choice of either 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic transmission, depending obviously on what you're looking for. And in terms of fuel economy, well, it's not great. You're looking at just under 31 mpg on the combined cycle, and it's 30.6 mpg on the combined cycle. So a little bit disappointing when it comes to sort of the drivetrain options that's available on Isuzu. However, that being said, they are hoping to bring out a fully electric version of the D Max as well, sometime possibly in 2024, 2025. And if they are able to do that, then that gives them quite an advantage, because there's very few fully electric pickups available on the market. In the US, obviously, it's just, it's a little bit better. There's the F-150 Lightning, obviously, from Ford that we don't get across here. But in the UK, it's only the Maxus T90 that's available in a fully electric form. So from that point of view, if they do get the fully electric one onto the market, that could be quite an option for you as well. Right, now unfortunately this week with the Isuzu, I've not managed to get it away from the actual road. I've not managed to take it off-road at all, which is a shame, because I'd love to have seen what it was capable of on the rough stuff. But I think it's probably more important than we evaluate it on the road itself. And if I'm being brutally honest with you, this is where it starts to fall apart for me a little bit here. Now, there's a couple of things. The first thing is the engine noise. It's this 1.9 litre diesel engine, 163 horsepower it produces. And when you put your foot down, you know you're driving a diesel engine vehicle. There's no getting away from its commercial origins. That is a proper diesel clatter that you get from it. 360 Newton meters of torque's not to be sniffed at, but even so, yeah, it's not a refined engine. And that's the first thing where I think it starts to kind of fall apart for me. The second bit is its manners on the road. I get it's a pickup truck, I do understand that, but it just starts to feel proper commercial vehicle out on the open road. So you've got a very noisy engine, you've got a 6-speed transmission, this auto transmission, which is okay, but it's not quick to react to engagements. I put a foot down, oh, there we go, there it kicks down. There's a real delay with it, and that's something that I just find, well, irritating. The thing that starts to irritate me a little bit more is the vagueness of the steering. It's very light, it's very easy to manoeuvre, that's what I will say. So if you are in a tighter car park, or you're manoeuvring around to sort of hitch up a trailer or a caravan, it's very, very easy. It's very light on the steering. The downside is it doesn't weight up at speed. It feels very light on the helm. And then of course you think, oh, it's not very that reactive, it's quite vague as well. And as you pitch into a bend and you wind on a bit more lock, there's quite a bit of lean from it, because obviously it's a big tall pickup truck. But its on-road manners are an absolute winner for me as far as I'm concerned. The last sort of like tick that it does in the sort of like fail to impress tick boxes is the ride quality. The ride quality on it is disappointing. Now, there's some big tyres, I do get that. I understand that it's not a family SUV per se, and nor should it behave like a big Range Rover, but it's not an insubstantial amount of money that Isuzu ask for this. And as I say, they are popular as on-road cars now, and that's where I just feel there isn't an occasion, there isn't a road surface that I've had it on where the ride isn't constantly reminding me what's going on underneath. It's constantly chattering away. Even on this sort of like relatively smooth piece of road, as soon as there's an expansion joint, as soon as there's just a little rip, I can just, yeah, there we go, over that bridge. I'd never feel that in any other car, but on this, it just feels like the wheels are constantly doing this all the time, and you can't escape it. It never settles down. It never feels smooth. So yeah, as I say, I get this, like, the practicality, and I understand that I'm judging it as a commercial vehicle. Of course I am. It's a pickup truck. But then I've driven lots of other commercial vehicles that are really quite smooth and really quite nice to drive. This isn't one of them. I do find that disappointing, especially at the level of money, as I say, that, you know, that Isuzu are asking for this truck. And I just think other people do it better. So yeah, it's not something that I could say I want to really spend a lot of time driving around with my family in it, in comparison with an SUV at sort of like similar levels of money. That is the downside with this type of, you are making that compromise. But you know, you'll be making it with the Ford Ranger, you'll be making it with the Volkswagen Amarok, you'll be making it with the Toyota Hilux, of course you will. But I feel you're making more compromises with the Isuzu. I genuinely do. I find it just a little bit, it's belying its commercial roots just too much for me. What I will say is you get a really nice driving position. You know, you sit it's a very commanding driving position. It's good to see out of. You get good big door mirrors. You can see the extremities of the car. As I said, I do find it quite easy to manoeuvre. The reverse camera is worthy of particular mention where it's mounted. As you're reversing, it's really focused down on behind, so you can really see what's behind you and just slightly underneath. That's good. I like that. But yeah, there's just too many other things to say, oh, right, yeah, I'm having to really compromise on what I'm having, you know, and what a vehicle could do to have this level of practicality. I think others do it better, personally. Now, last thing let's discuss is the brakes. So the brakes themselves, as we come to a roundabout, you know, and you stop, they're relatively powerful. You know, they do a good enough job of sort of like hauling it down, hauling the truck down from any sort of speed that you're doing. There's a reasonable amount of feel from the pedal, as you'd expect, so that's okay. So the brakes are all right, but it's just a shame the rest of it doesn't live up to the billing. Sorry. Now, when it comes to price, this isn't quite as clear cut as it might sound. Because it's a pickup truck, because it's a double cab, in other words, it's got passenger seats and windows behind the driver's. In my day, if you saw like a vehicle had a glass behind the driver's door, it was classed as a passenger vehicle and therefore attracted VAT, and obviously, unless it was a minibus or something like that. Now, the other problem was as well, because these shot up in popularity, HMRC were going to change the taxation law because they were going to see them basically as a passenger car, and therefore they would attract the same taxation that any other passenger car would as a company vehicle. But thanks to, you know, some of the tradespeople and farmers in particular, sort of like pushing back against that, because obviously, as I say, it meant you'd have to have a pickup and a car, and that's just ridiculous. So that's why they pushed back on it, because they were still being used as company vehicles, as a business vehicle. So that law has been pushed back, so they do still attract the better benefit in kind taxation that a commercial vehicle does still. So that's still in place. VAT is a little bit different because, and that's why I've got my little book here, because I had to write all this down, because I'm obviously of an age. As I say, back in my day, you know, something like this would just be classed as a passenger car. Job done, you have to pay VAT on it. However, what they now say is double cabs, if it has a payload of over 1,000 kilos, you can reclaim a portion of the VAT on it. So in other words, if you use it for if your mileage is 80% business miles, business use, 80% of the VAT can be reclaimed. However, proving what's business use and what's not can be quite tricky. So don't take anything I say as gospel. Talk to your accountant, okay? Because, you know, my understanding is, you know, driving to and from work, you know, if you are a contractor and you're on site or whatever, driving to that site is not business use. That's just getting to work. That's not business use. If you stop halfway through the day to nip down to the local Tesco's or Sainsbury's or whatever to buy milk for the boys back on site because they need a cup of tea, that's not business use. So it can be quite complicated, so do bear that in mind. Now again, I've got my book out because all I'm going to quote for is the price of this D Max V-Cross, this adventure series with a double cab. I'm not going to bother going through all the prices for the other models within the D Max range, okay? So it's just purely this V-Cross that I'm talking about, and these prices include VAT, okay? So the range kicks off at £43,716 for the manual gearbox car, okay, truck. This is an auto, so that price then climbs to £46,116, okay? And as I say, that's inclusive of VAT. However, as tested, this particular truck is £51,042, including VAT, because it has a tow bar, the metallic paint, the Truckman top, oh, and the bed rug in the back, that bed rug in the back. But you can spend absolute fortunes on these things, you know, with, you know, slightly different fronts to them, light bars, roof rails and such like. So you really have to be careful because the price can really run amok if you're not careful what you do. And as I say, with this truck here, we're talking at over £50,000, which isn't cheap. So the competition. What else could you look at? Well, the two that always spring to my mind are obviously the Toyota Hilux, probably one of the best-selling pickups around. Has been on the go since the 1960s. Great pickup, the Hilux, and of course the Ford Ranger. They're always quite popular as well. There's a few of those running around as well that you can see, as well as these Isuzus. And like the Isuzus, they're available in the various different sort of like guises. You know, single, double cabs, two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, loads of accessories, more lifestyle-orientated vehicles, less life. You get the picture of what I'm trying to say. The other one that's also come on the scene over the last couple of years that gets a huge amount of a lot of kudos for being a little bit more, dare I suggest, sophisticated, is the Volkswagen Amarok. That's a great looking pickup, I think. That's a really good looking thing. If you go a bit cheaper, then you've got things such as KGM Musso, obviously used to be the SsangYong Musso. Yeah, anyway, we'll leave that for that. And he's the Maxus, the T90. As I say, now that's an all-electric pickup, so that's quite an interesting vehicle, but maybe not quite as usable, dare I suggest, as the good old diesel that you're still going to have with these. Ineos. There's also the Ineos. Now, of course, the Grenadier came out as that kind of sort of like Land Rover Defender-esque style SUV, very much towards sort of like tradespeople, farmers, that type of thing, with its more utilitarian style. And now it can be had as a pickup as well, what they call the Quartermaster. So that is also another one that you possibly will consider as well. But whether or not it's more lifestyle orientated like these ones are, is to be discussed, I would suggest. But certainly there are other options out there if this one doesn't take your fancy. The Isuzu D Max has been with us since 2012. It replaced the previous generation, the Isuzu Rodeo pickup. And in 2023, Isuzu found homes for 6,000 of these in the UK. And by 2025, it hopes to find 10,000 homes a year for them. But that's not the interesting number that falls to my mind. What I find interesting is this. Across the three ranges within the D Max, whether it's utilitarian, all-purpose or adventure, the adventure accounts for over a third of those sales. And 79% of all D Max sales in the UK are for the double cab model. Now that says to me that this type of vehicle is gaining traction and popularity in the UK. So maybe those 10,000 units aren't such a pie-in-the-sky figure after all. But is it worth it? Because the figure that keeps jumping back to my mind here is £50,000, which is what this truck here costs, with all the sort of like the bits on it this one has. And bear in mind, as I say, you can go even wilder than this. And I keep thinking £50,000, you know, buys you an awful lot of practical family SUV. But then I'm not the target market for it. Maybe someone, as I say, if you're a farmer or you're a tradesman and you need that utilitarian car Monday to Friday, but then at the weekends you're using it as a family car, or you're towing your horse box, or you're towing your race shuttle, where you know your race car in, or you're doing track days and you need to tow a car to a track to do it, or you sail, or whatever it is you do, then that is obviously your target market. And there that I start to see the appeal with a vehicle like this. But what I'll caveat that with is, as good as this Isuzu is, I do think there are better out there for your money. Thank you for watching another review on House of Cars. As always, please make sure that you are subscribed to the House of Cars channel. Then once you've done that, press the little bell button, it's down below, because that's the way you get notified when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you've watched this one and you've enjoyed it, then please make sure you give it a wee thumbs up. And of course, don't forget, let me have your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you have one of these Isuzu pickups? Do you love it? Did you buy it over one of the others that were around at the time? Why did you buy this one over, say, a Ford Ranger or, or as I say, a Toyota Hilux? Have you not chosen this one? Have you gone down the route of buying the Ranger? Why did you buy the Ranger instead of this? As I say, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know how you use it as well. How does it fit into your life? If you've gone from something like having, I don't know, a normal SUV into having one of these double cab pickups, how is it fitting into your lifestyle? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you're a bit of a social media fan, then I'm on Instagram and it's at House of Cars 1973. So please give us a follow there as well, because that does help the channel. And remember, whether or not it's a big car or pickup or a small car or pickup, it's a new car, it's an old car, it's a slow car or it's a fast car, you're going to find them all here in the House of Cars. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.